Hey, welcome to Wellness Wednesday, everybody. Welcome to Fun Saver Wellness Wednesday. We do this every 2 weeks with this guy that you see on screen named Dwight Lundell. I call him the doc because that's what he is. He's a heart surgeon, was a heart surgeon for a long time, about 25 years, and performed over 5,000 heart surgeries or cardio surgeries. I'm not in that field, so I'm probably going to say it wrong. But we do this every other Wednesday. And what we do here with Fun Saver Network, we at Fun Saver Network, we're not the experts on health and wellness. That's not who we are. That's not what we do. So today, what you've done is you walking down the street and you came to the sign that says Fun Saver Network, and you're walking in the store and you decided to walk down the aisle of health and wellness. And you meet this guy named Dr. Dwight Lundell. And you go in this room, and Dr. Lundell is going to tell you what he's done, his expertise, and why it is what it is. Because we're not the experts. We're not. We believe that in order to get the correct information, because listen, we all know that when you get into health and wellness and the information goes from here to here, it's changed completely. By the time it gets to the 10th person, we're regrowing a third eye. I mean, that's just the way it works. So I believe it's up to us to let the expert come on and explain to each and every one of you exactly what this product is, who the person is that formulated it, and who the person is that has the reason to do it and why it happened. So without further ado, I want to welcome to the call Dr. Dwight Lundell out of Arizona, I do believe. And I'm going to let him come on and tell you a little bit about himself, about his history, about being a surgeon, how that happened. So, Dr. Dwight Lundell, let me just say again to you on this Wellness Wednesday, thank you for coming out today and speaking to all these fine folks about this fantastic product you have. So you have the floor, sir.
All right. Well, thank you, Ron, and welcome everybody. I'm happy to be here. I hope you all are as well. And it's an interesting proposition. We've got people crying and whining that we're trying to change the dietary guidelines and the CDC and the FDA. And as Bobby Kennedy pointed out, and as I agree 100%, how can you possibly defend what we've done for the last 40 years? Because we have the most disease of any country in the world. Our costs are higher than anywhere in the world. And it's the whole system is covered with graft and corruption. And we don't like to think of that. This isn't a corrupt country. If you'd have stopped by the traffic policeman in Mexico, you can give them $100 and you're done. And but our bribery, our corruption is much more sophisticated. And I saw this way back when I was a resident at Yale, learning to be a cardiac surgeon. The professors were trying to get research grants because they really live on research grants. And the comment in academia is always publish or perish. So they were looking for things to apply for a grant. Well, I watched them. They weren't looking for something new. They weren't looking for something different. They were looking what was popular at that time with the government, who had all the money. So whatever the topic that was hot at the moment, that's where they sent their research grant application. Not to cure heart disease, but to do whatever that was popular at the time. And so heart disease really been around forever, basically. But it only took off in this country in the last, I would say, 50 years. After the Heart Association, at the behest of Ansel Keys, and under sophisticated bribery from Procter and Gamble, the maker of Crisco, they began to say that animal fats were evil and bad and would kill you. And they said that you need to use Crisco for your cooking. And then following Crisco, which was cottonseed oil, then came soybean oil and canola oil and corn oil and all these other things that were supposed to be healthier. Well, anytime the research showed that saturated fat, animal fats, or some plant fats was bad, was good, then that research would get buried. And anytime there might be a little research, no matter how skewed, that showed that the seed oils, as we call them, were beneficial, then that got a lot of publicity. So at the moment, it's kind of interesting to see the whining and crying coming from the establishment, because that gravy train is going to end. We're going to have in the next 6 to 10 months new dietary guidelines, which are going to be different than the ones we have now. And I remember as a child, we thought that the government was always telling us the truth. And my father had grown up on a dairy farm, and we had a cow in the backyard. We made our own butter. We had a cream separator. And he was a chemistry professor. And I remember him telling us how that saturated fat had two bonds and unsaturated didn't have this other bond, and blah, blah, blah. And maybe some of you are old enough to remember when margarine first came out, some concoction of poison chemicals, and the butter lobby would not let it be colored yellow because it was naturally white, like Crisco. And it would come in a bag, and it was this white stuff. And inside of that bag was a little capsule, about the size of a RealW8 capsule. And you broke this capsule inside and mixed it all up, and it turned yellow. So it was pretend butter. So my father believed him. We switched from butter to margarine. We had Cheerios and cornflakes on the table for breakfast instead of eggs and bacon that we had before. So all my siblings have died from sugar poisoning. And for some blessed reason, I'm thankful, but I'm still here. Anyway, that's not about me. That's about the history of where we are. And that was part of what motivated me to make a change, or try to make a change in mainstream medicine. And I said, yeah, the hospital's making millions and I'm doing okay, scratching out a living in the desert here, doing heart surgeries all day long and all night long. And so I said, something's wrong here. We got to move this. We got to move this upstream. We got to find out what's really causing this. I became convinced very early that it was not cholesterol, and that all the statin drugs and all the other drugs were just poisoning the liver. And so you can't live without your liver. So why would you poison it? At any rate, knowing it wasn't cholesterol, and knowing that more than half of my patients came to the operating room with normal cholesterol, I said, something's different. And I began to dive into all the research there was, tried to find the unbiased, tried to find the accurate, which sometimes is not good. There's a very famous professor at Stanford called, his last name is Ioannidis. He's from Greece, I think. At any rate, he's a famous professor, and he said 90% of all medical research is wrong for one reason or another, inaccurate, biased. And I learned early on that you can choose your sample size, you can choose your statistical analysis, you can call it relative risk and make it what you want it. So I can find you a medical study on almost anything, and that will back up my position, right or wrong. So I tried to get the hospital to change. I said, it's not cholesterol, it's something else. And it's, so I guess I was a pioneer in misinformation or disinformation. and they weren't happy with me. So I decided I would prove my points. So we opened a clinic. We put people on uh, certain supplements and very low carbohydrate diets, and it was dramatic. Uh, Patients with $1,500 worth of drug bills were off in a month. They began to lose weight. They began to feel better. Their brain fog began to go away. So I knew we were onto something, and that led us to starting a little company, and that led us to do RealW8. And for a variety of reasons, we had huge success for a little while, and then for business reasons, we didn't succeed. But thankfully, Fund Saver Network also has a vision of bringing good things, new things, saving people money, and making them healthier. Thankfully, they've brought RealW8 back to the market. So here we are with RealW8, and it works. It helps you. It stops your sugar addiction and will help you be healthier, most important. And second of all, very effective at helping people lose weight.
Well, I want to say, first of all, thank you very much for considering Fun Saver Network to bring your product back to the market. I know you had gone through some things in the mid 2000s with another company and you wasn't happy about it. And I could fully understand if you didn't want to deal with another network marketing company ever again to get your product back out there. So I want to say thank you for letting us do that. We're super excited about it. But I also want to ask you this question. I want to ask you, um, as a cardiovascular surgeon, I listen, I try to get my words correct now. um, everything that you saw, I want you to, if you would please, kind of go through what your mindset was as you were doing these surgeries, what you saw that was truly causing these problems in people's lives.
Okay. Well, first of all, doing heart surgery was extremely gratifying because people who couldn't work, couldn't be with their families, were having chest pain every day, or were uh, imminently going to die. A successful operation, which thankfully it was 98% of the time, they got better. So you can imagine how good that feels. And you can imagine the responsibility of literally having someone's heart in your hand and having them depend on you. So, yes, it was gratifying, but also was, no pun intended, deadly serious. Uh, and as I say, all the emphasis was on cholesterol. But once again, simple observation showed that cholesterol wasn't the problem. Lots of big studies have shown that, what I saw in my own practice was that more than half, maybe as much as 70% of people presenting in the emergency room with a heart attack had normal cholesterols. So the authorities, they began constantly lowering the permissible level or the recommended level where you should start a statin. And every time they dropped it another 20 milligrams per deciliter, that meant many more millions of people were eligible to start taking Lipitor or Crestor or something like that. So it's uh, once again, I want to call it crooked, but I don't want to be that crude. Um,
You,
the
okay.
Go ahead.
You lived it. So,
Yeah, it was. It's not overt; it's covert. It's subtle. It's um, funding a research study, and if Pfizer funds me a research study, and that research study means my career goes on for a few more years as a researcher, do you think I'm going to say Pfizer is no good and Lipitor is no good? Of course not.
yeah.
I might not be grossly dishonest, but I'll twist things a little bit.
Mhm.
I'll twist things a little bit so that I can get another grant from Pfizer to study cholesterol and extend my academic career another few years. So, as I
So what you're
say,
referring to is you're actually referring to doctors that are getting grants to extend their career, and they're passing the message to the public of what the drug companies want them to say, which is not always true.
that is absolutely correct.
Okay.
And Lipitor, Crestor, and all the statin drugs make Bernie Madoff look like a penny ante uh, swindler, because it's a big swindle. But we're not quite ready as a nation to call it what it truly is. But here at Fun Saver Networks and here at the Real Weight thing, we're calling it what it is. Treating cholesterol is a giant, massive fraud. So Ron is going to ask me next. So what should we treat?
Well,
Is that
that's going to
correct?
be my next question. You're getting to know me quite well, Doc.
Well, you're awesome. You're awesome. Fun Saver is lucky to have you as well. At
Thank
any
you.
rate, research in the late 90s culminated in a sort of a seminal research paper saying that atherosclerosis is an inflammatory disease. So what did Big Pharma do? They started measuring inflammatory markers, and if your inflammatory markers are up, then you needed Lipitor. But I asked the question, which they maybe asked but didn't want to know the answer. What exactly is causing inflammation in the artery that's causing plaque to build up, give us strokes, heart attacks, and amputations and kidney failure? And the answer was high blood sugar. And that answer is patently obvious by looking at what population has the most vascular disease, be it cardiovascular or peripheral vascular. And the answer is type 1 and uncontrolled type 2 diabetics. And what's in common? High blood sugars, persistently, repeatedly high blood sugars. And what happens at the cellular level is that the endothelial cell, which lines our blood vessels, can't say no to sugar. Every other cell can say no. We're full. We've got enough. There's an insulin receptor on the cell wall. No more sugar's coming in here. I don't care what the rest of you do, but you're not going to poison me with extra sugar. Well, the endothelial cell, of course, is right next to the bloodstream. And for whatever reason, and mainly the reason is that everything that really goes in and out of our body, stop and think about it a second. Everything that goes in or the waste products that go out has to come from the cell, cross the endothelial cell to get into the bloodstream. The nutrients in the bloodstream have to cross through the endothelial cell to get into the rest of the system and nurture us. So maybe that's the reason it doesn't have an insulin receptor. But what happens with persistent and repeated high blood sugars is that the cell gets injured. And what happens when it gets injured? It gets inflamed. And inflammation is a complicated cascade, but it results in cell death sometimes. And when you cut yourself and blood is exposed to the outside in the skin, it makes a blood clot. In your blood vessel, if the endothelial cell dies, it's just like a cut. A clot forms to repair that. And part of the repair is fibrin and platelets and red blood cells. And they're full of cholesterol. And so that's why when you open up somebody and look at the plaque under the microscope, it has a lot of cholesterol in it. That didn't mean cholesterol caused it. That means cholesterol got there for another reason. And so I knew from then on that it was sugar. And that was part of the motivation to try to help people control their blood sugar, as we did in our little clinic, because that's the real key. Now, Mother Nature makes lots of sugar. I mean, sugar cane or a peach or an apple. But Mother Nature always provided us with fiber along with the sugar. And what does that do? That slows down the absorption of the sugar. It also makes us full, so we don't have. I mean, you can eat 10 Oreos, but you can't eat 10 apples. And so it's just it's called satiety. And you're satisfied with one apple, and you have to get to 10 or 15 Oreos, and you're still unsatisfied for a couple of reasons. But one is because there's no fullness in the stomach, there's no fiber to slow the absorption, and the sugar hits the part of the brain called the nucleus accumbens. Remember that, Ron. It'll be on the exam next week.
Okay, got it.
Nucleus accumbens.
I'm
Nucleus
going to remember
accumbens.
NE. I'll remember NE. Maybe I'll get it.
At any rate, that's the pleasure center, and sugar hits the pleasure center and sends off the signals that we want more, and truly becomes addictive, because if you get all that dopamine release and all that pleasure, then obviously and naturally you would want more.
Okay, so let me kind of go back to what you said. I love listening to you and then trying to do my best to put it in layman's terms. Not that you don't, but I'm much more simple-minded than you, I believe, Doc. So what I'm hearing you say is during your cardiovascular surgeries, you discovered that yes, there's cholesterol in the clot that was in the artery, but that's not what caused the clot. What caused the clot was the damage done by the sugar, and the clot was there because the artery tried to repair itself. And because there was cholesterol in the clot, the drug companies wanted the doctors and the medical people to tell the people that cholesterol causes heart attacks and strokes, so the drug companies could sell you more cholesterol medicine. Am I close?
Absolutely right on.
Okay. Okay. So then in your discovery, you found out that it was sugar, and then you tried to get the people in the medical world to listen to you, and they didn't want nothing to do with
it. Correct.
Okay.
They were making too much money. In fact, we had partnered with a hospital to build a heart hospital, a specialty hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And I was chief of staff and chief of surgery at the second largest heart hospital in the United States. And went to administration, said, let's do some programs on sugar. And they didn't like to hear that. So that's what, after beating my head against the wall a few times and causing all my hair to fall out, I said, we're going to do something different. We do it on our own. If I can't change the hospital, I'll go somewhere else and do something different.
Mm-hmm. So you did.
So we did.
And what did you do?
Well, we developed a way to help people overcome sugar addiction and become healthier and lose weight.
Wait, you just said two words together that you haven't said yet. You said sugar addiction.
Yes, sugar addiction. And
that's the thing.
Just of the artificial intelligence programs that are out there, I like Grok, which is on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
And just a minute ago, I asked Grok if sugar was addictive. And so you can ask ChatGPT or whatever else you want, mm-hmm. Is sugar addictive? And you'll get a very nice answer. But I'll give a little longer one, in that addiction is defined by behaviors which end up being destructive. There's in order to get paid for treating someone with addiction in medicine, it has to follow what's called the medical code, the ICP code. So there are certain things in the ICP code that define addiction so that you can get reimbursed for treating a patient for addiction. And, one of these days we'll list them, but we don't need to right now. But it's real.
The ICP code, I'm assuming, is the insurance code.
Correct. It's the billing code.
Got it.
And the billing code says these 4 or 5 things have to be met in order for a diagnosis of addiction to be made.
Mm-hmm.
But the experiments, and you'll find this if you ask ChatGTP or Grok, they'll cite the animal studies that I've talked about before, whereas rats would prefer glucose or sugar over cocaine, and humans, the same areas in the brain, i.e., the nucleus accumbens, light up like a Christmas tree with sugar, similar to that they would do with cocaine and heroin. And so we won't belabor the point, but the bottom line is the addiction is absolutely real and absolutely powerful, as observed not only scientifically with these experiments, but look around. There are not too many skinny folks. And we're all lined up at the buffet, and we're all drinking
energy
Mountain Dew by the gallons.
Yeah. So it sounds to me like there's 2 corporations or 2 organizations together. That would be Big Food and Big Pharma. And between the 2, they literally are trying to kill us.
They are. And I don't know how overt the cooperation is, because corporate, their purpose is to make money. It's not to serve you in any other way, unless it's a service corporation. But basically, we want to make money. And if serving you in some way makes money, we're going to do that. If feeding your addiction to Cheerios produces a profit, we're going to feed your addiction to Cheerios. We're going to advertise. We're going to pay doctors and universities to publish papers that say X amount is healthy and you should have these quote unquote whole grains to be healthy. Well, I'm telling you that that's a fib, man. The food companies, guess who owns the food companies?
Big Pharma.
The same corporate heads that used to own the tobacco companies.
Yeah. So early in our life, Doc, as we're children and we're growing up, Big Pharma gets their hands around us to eat the wrong things. So later in our life, Big Food gets their hands around us.
Yeah.
So later in life, Big Pharma is depending on us to spend the money that we have accumulated now to spend on insurance to buy medications that they make tons of money through the insurance. Am I online? Am I where I need to be?
No, that is absolutely correct. Once again, if I can hook you on my product, then I'm great. If I cure you and you no longer need my product, then that's too smart.
Okay, so we kind of figured out what they're doing to us, and we know that you've been in the operating room, and we know you've held people's hands in your hearts, and we know that you discovered exactly why the cholesterol was in the clot, and how the clot got there. Now let's move forward. What drove you to go develop a product after everybody told you we don't want nothing to do with it, and you went out on your own? And what drove you to develop that product to help others? And when you had that calling to go do that, what was the product that you developed?
Well, part of the driving force, if you will, was my desire. The reason I went into medicine was my desire to help folks. And yes, heart surgery was helping them. But what if I could help them without leaving a scar down the middle of their chest? Mm-hmm. What if I could help them before they got sick? What if we could do something drastically different than the world was doing? And so we've already talked about sugar being addictive. We've talked about sugar being a cause of cardiovascular disease, heart disease, strokes, and whatnot. So I reasoned and that if we could help people overcome that addiction, then we could help a lot more people be healthy. Mm-hmm. And so we looked and looked and looked at all sorts of safe and effective compounds that would help people do that. And ultimately, that led to the formulation of RealW8. And the products, the elements that we chose for RealW8 were green coffee extract, a seaweed from off the coast of France, and a prickly pear leaf from right here in Arizona. And we put the three of them together. We knew that they were safe. We made sure of that. And so we started a little experimental group. We gave them an unlabeled bottle of RealW8, told them to take it 30 minutes before their two largest meals of the day, 30 minutes before. And the reason for that is not everything is completely instantaneous. So you have to get physiologic processes going and working in order to make the change. So we determined that 30 minutes before the meal was the optimal time to give these three ingredients to get their maximum effect. And
it is critically important to anybody considering or anybody that is taking RealW8 at the moment. It is critically important they take it 30 minutes before they eat, not while they eat. Is that correct?
That is correct. You're kind of wasting it if you take it immediately before you eat or right as you start a meal. But that's the way the body works. That's the way these three ingredients work, because they work. They start working in your mouth really, and they continue to work in the small intestine, and they continue to work inside the body after the carbohydrate, be it a quote unquote complex carbohydrate, which just means there's lots of sugar molecules attached together, to glucose, which is the simplest compound, which I'm sure you remember this too, Ron. C6H12O6, right?
No, I don't.
That's the formula for glucose, the chemical formula.
Okay. No, I didn't remember.
Six carbons, 12 hydrogens, and 6 oxygens.
Okay.
Very simple molecule. And the whole world, nature, everything else runs. You take sunshine, water, and a plant will produce glucose, carbohydrates in various lengths of chains. And then, so that's oxygen and sunlight and water. Mm-hmm. And then if we eat that carbohydrate, that takes it and turns it back into carbon dioxide and water. So the plant needs carbon dioxide, sunshine, and water, and we need glucose, and we get rid of we process the glucose and eliminate water and carbon dioxide. And everybody's freaking out about carbon dioxide. Well, guess what? It's plant food. The more CO2 you have, the better your plants grow. So if we get much lower than where we are now, we won't have any plants.
That's the natural way to do it, right? That's the natural way to do
it. Yep, that's the fundamentals of nature. The plant and the plant, animal, and connection. At any rate, I don't want to fight with anybody about climate change, but the fact is that CO2 is plant food. We exhale it. The plants use it. They make glucose, and if we get too much glucose, that makes us sick.
Mm-hmm. 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 So you went to go and you developed this product called RealW8, and you made these bottles, and you were sending these bottles with no labeling, no nothing. So this is kind of like a clinical test. What was your results?
They were pretty dramatic. People started losing weight. That's our emphasis was on weight loss at the time, and it still is basically, but it was pretty dramatic weight loss. People of every age, people of every size, people of every color and shape, all were getting success with RealW8. And our marketing plan, if you will, was using our own pictures. And even then, people had cell phones. We had Facebooks. The most powerful marketing tool we had was our picture before and after. And that is still a very compelling marketing tool, a before and after picture, plus a testimonial or relating the experience of how much better we feel and how we now have power over the big corporations and over glucose that we didn't have before. So maybe it should be real power instead of real weight.
So let me kind of go what you just said. You had great results, and you had great results with people losing weight. So when I hear that, it makes me think this product for the people that are listening is not only for glucose. It's not only for that. It'll help tremendously with that. But if you're not a person, this is almost an oxymoron statement, but if you're not a person that has high glucose and you're overweight, it can be used for overweight as well. Is that correct? So it kind of fights two things.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Because I was thinking in my mind, can a person be overweight and not have a glucose problem? I guess that is possible. I guess it is.
Yes. Yeah, they could. I mean, you can eat enough. It's hard to do, but you could eat enough fat.
Yeah.
To gain weight. You could eat enough. That once it's hard to do, you could eat enough protein to gain some weight. But basically, it's all about carbohydrates.
Okay, so we have a product that you developed through your trials and tribulations that not only helps people with high glucose, which is blood sugar, um, and how does it exactly help that? I mean, we've gone over everything, how people get it and why it's there. How does it exactly go in and help a person with a high glucose level, like pre-diabetes, type 2 diabetes? How does it help that person?
Okay. It number one, it slows the breakdown of these complex carbohydrates into C6H12O6,
Mhm.
the simplest glucose molecule. And it has to be broken down in the intestine in order to get across the intestinal wall and into the bloodstream. So we slow that way down, much like Mother Nature did with fiber in an apple.
Mm-hmm.
So it slows down the breakdown. And then in the brush border of the small bowel, it slows down the speed at which the glucose crosses the bowel wall and gets into the bloodstream. And once in the bloodstream, we change the way it's metabolized so that it doesn't get turned to triglycerides and fat quickly.
Okay.
So those are the three ways that help us. And once again, it's in a way, the first step is mimicking Mother Nature by slowing it down with some fiber. That's where the prickly pear comes in. The prickly pear is a fibrous plant, and so that fiber slows down the absorption, makes us a little fuller. The seaweed inhibits two hormones. They're not hormones. Two chemicals in the body called lipase, which breaks down fat, and amylase, which breaks down sugar. And so slowing those two processes slows the way that the glucose gets into the bloodstream. So those are the keys. That's the sort of semi-scientific explanation.
That's fantastic. It's fantastic that we have a product direct from a person that was doing heart surgery, what was needed, and you formulated it, and the product is from the person that actually put it together. In other words, it wasn't an idea. It went to some company and they formulated it. It's not that at all. That's not what it is. It came from you, the person that was in the fight. That means a lot to me, a lot. And then so now you have their product and you had great results on it. And I want to go back had it out before because Claudia's here saying 2011 she was one of those people in that testing phase, and what it did for her, it's just phenomenal, right? She's in the chat. So let's say in 2011, 2012, 2013, along those lines, you had Real Weight out then. How much was you charging per month supply back then?
We were charging $100 to $110 for a month's supply.
A month supply. A month supply. And here we are, let's say 21, 14 years later, 14, 13, 12 years later, you have brought the same exact product, the same exact formula to another networking company. And again, thank you for doing that. And because we are FunSaver is a discount club, a pro member, which is a person that's paying $25 a month to be a pro member, they can literally buy a month supply for $46 a month. Same product, same everything, same heart surgeon, same everything, but it's less than half of what it was being charged back in 11, 12, and 13. I just want to say something about that. There's a lot of things happening at FunSaver Network that's super, super special to me. And I say that because I've been in the industry for so long. First of all, here's something very special. I've been in a lot of health and well, not a lot, but I've been in health and wellness companies. And what I will tell you is most of the times when they have a Zoom call with a person about their product, very rarely is it a surgeon, a doctor that put the product together that comes and does a wellness call. Normally it's their marketing person, they have paperwork on it, white papers, whatever. Very rarely do you have something like this that happens every 2 weeks. And I want to go out on a limb again. I know I say it all the time, Doc, but I mean it when I say it. I thank you, and FunSaver thanks you for giving us the opportunity with this product again, and you being willing to come on here for an hour of your life every 2 weeks and do this Wellness Wednesday call and sit here and explain to all of us everything about this product. That means everything. It means everything to a company. It means everything to our associates, our members, whether they're free or whether they're paid. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Because even a free member, a free lifetime member at FunSaver Network can literally go buy this product, not for 46, but for 65. It's still less than what they paid back in the mid 2000s. Still, because we're a discount membership club. So, Doc, if you want to close us out and tell people, what they should be doing, please be my guest, sir.
All right. Well, I'm just going to follow up on that and thank FunSaver Network for bringing this product back so that it extends my career of helping people be healthy. So I thank you. I thank the administration and owners of FunSaver, and I thank everyone on this call and everyone that we can influence in the United States and around the world to be healthy, because that means everything to me. I got almost emotional, or maybe emotional, at hearing some of the experiences over the last month or so of what this has done for people. And you can't imagine how gratifying that is to me. So I thank all of you. And once again, I've said it before, but if you get lots of folks taking Real Weight on a faithful basis, you can save more lives than I in the operating room.
I get chill bumps every time you say that because it's true. Some of the testimonials I've heard, we heard the one where a guy, his A1C has been 9 to 10 since 2010. He's lost half his foot. He's never got his A1C down. He started on this product, went and got his blood work done. He feels better. He looks better. And his A1C is in the mid sevens. He's never had it there since 2010. Now I got to follow that by saying we don't claim to cure anything. We don't claim to curate anything. We don't claim any of those claims. We don't. But it's just, I believe that there's certain things in the world that are all natural that needs to be in your body. Then it helps. It helps tremendously. So, Doc, thank you so much for hanging out with us. I can't wait to see you again another Wednesday. And I'll try to remember that thing that you told me because I remember by 6/12/6. That's how I'm going to remember it. I'll do my absolute best. But, guys, I want to end this with this. If you're having a problem with being overweight, if you're having a problem with prediabetes, if you're having a problem with type 2 diabetes, I am not saying we're going to cure you. But what I am saying, what if? What if? What if you have somebody in your family that you love and care about, and you know they're taking metformin every day, and you know how bad metformin is, and you know they're taking glucophage, or you know you got people in your family that's a little bit overweight or a lot overweight, and you care about them? Why would you not tell them about this? Because they can literally be a free member, costs nothing, a free lifetime member, and be able to buy this product at a discounted rate. Why would you not do that? So I'm just asking each and every one of you, if you don't want to be the one that talks about it to somebody because you don't feel like you know enough, we do these every 2 weeks with Dr. Lundell. And we do it at 2 o'clock Central, 3 o'clock Eastern at this same place. And if you've got people in your family or people that you care about that you truly want to help, but you just feel like they won't listen to you because it's you, we understand. Get them to this Zoom. Get them here. Let the expert, Dr. Lundell, tell them why, when, and how. Let him tell them. But I want to thank all of you for hanging out with us again on this Wellness Wednesday. Miss Shelley, I'm going to turn this back over to you. But before I do, everybody have a blessed rest of your week. You have it, Miss Shelley.
All right, great. Thanks. Great call, everybody. Thank you for being here. We are going to, let's see, when is the next call? Monday. Meet the CEO will be at 2 o'clock Eastern, 1 Central, and of course, Power Hour next week on Tuesday will be the next two calls. And I want to make sure everybody remembers we're doing our National Breast Cancer Foundation fundraiser right now. So every NutriRelief order that is placed, we're donating $5. And then we've also added a button to the home screen where you can just go in and make a straight cash donation. So keep that in mind, and let's try to raise some money for breast cancer research. And that's it. That's all I got today.
Folks, I've already been asked this question. It's kind of crazy. 100% of that money is going to breast research.
Yes.
We're not keeping any of it.
No. If we collect $1,000, we send them $1,000, but we'd love to have more than that. So absolutely, 100% of it is going to the National Breast Cancer Foundation.
And it's in your home. When you go to the home page, you'll see the button there and you can donate. If you can, you can. If you can't, you can't. We understand. Okay. So everybody have a fantastic day. Thank you, Shelley. Dr. Lundell, thank you again, sir. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye, everybody.